And I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. I think I do, but I'm not positive. So it says in there, if the person has violated the provisions of this section, or this section, and provided the controlled substance to a person, one of those sections is 372732. That basically just says it's unlawful for any person to manufacture or deliver. And so I'll explain what my concern is, and then maybe you can explain if this would apply. So if you have a child that's given a drug in school, some pills, and maybe they take the pills, they're not ingesting them, but they take them because they feel peer pressure. And then that child, because they've been taught better, maybe just gives them away to someone else. And that child dies, their classmate dies. Is that child going to get a life sentence for what I see as drug-induced homicide? Even though they haven't manufactured, they haven't trafficked. That's how I read that, and I'm just unclear on that section.
Gentleman 14.
Well, that is not the way this is going to happen. The burden of proof to make this happen is very clear. I just talked to my contact in L.A., and he is the sheriff. He's in charge of the Drug Enforcement Division down there in L.A. County. They say they have 4 to 6 drug-induced homicide cases a week. The last week they had one case, 4 people died. They were able to track it through text messages, track it through what they saw in videos, and what the Venmo exchange of money. They're going after, you go after the dealers. You can't track this down by Billy said this, or you'd never be able to prove that anyway, and that's not the intent. The intent is to go after the pathway to the dealers that are doing this killing. And they have it in LA every day, 4 to 6 cases every week. And they pick the ones they can, and they go after it. If they have problems, because LA is a slippery slope, they don't enforce much of anything down there. The cops are so frustrated. And if they have a good case, they turn it to the DEA, and the DEA goes in there and rips their lips off. 20 years they have, and they have a very fine requirement to have burden of proof. It's very precise. They're not going to go after kids. They'll never be able to prove that. That will never be prosecuted. That will never happen.
Lady from 2.
Quick follow-up, please.
Would the gentleman yield for a follow-up question?
Yes.
Gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman. So the word I'm concerned about is deliver. It seems like the child, which child would be the person that delivered? Would it be the drug dealer that gives to the first kid, or would it be the child that gives it to the person that dies? The deliver is pretty vague, and so I'm just concerned. Who would that go to?
Gentleman from 14.
Well, I would say, good gentleman, good lady from
2.
Clearly, they're going after that dealer. The dealer as such, because that's the intent, and that's discretion also. Law enforcement and prosecutors, they're never going to go after something like that, and they won't be able to prove it. Billy gave it to Joey. Who said what? They go after cases they can prove, and they go after the electronic, and this is how they're so successful. The only way they can really prove this, in the past it was very difficult, because they have an electronic pathway all the way across, videos of them actually exchanging. And that's the level it requires to get it across the line and go after it. And they go after the dealers. They're never going to go after these cases. That's never going to be the intent, and that will never happen.
Thank you.
Further debate?